I made a beginner's guide series which explains the mechanics of Stellaris, but I don't feel it does a very good job of explaining how they interact with each other and how they actually apply to the gameplay itself. So I'm going to be playing the game and explaining every thought I have with every decision, hopefully to help people that prefer videos with a slower pace. Something to note, the reason the UI is so giant. I have my UI scaling to 2.5. That is because I want this to be readable on mobile devices. So the game, by default, as you can see right here, recommends the United Nations of Earth. And this is a pretty good starting empire. So when it becomes relevant, I'll describe what egalitarian means, or what xenophile means, or what all of this means mechanically. And one thing to note before I begin, I have all of the DLC enabled for this playthrough. The only change I'm going to make is I'm going to bump up the difficulty to Captain. I am going to turn off Caravaneers. I'm turning off Caravaneers because the pop-ups that they give are kind of annoying to me. And what is the first choice that I make when loading into the game? What I always do first is there's these 3 notifications. Around here, this is where you get any important notifications, and they'll hang out here. Here in the technology screen, basically the notifications are these 3 technologies. These researchers need to be told what to focus on. Essentially how research works is that every time you finish researching a technology, kind of like a deck, and the deck shuffles around all of your available options, and you draw 3 cards, and you get to pick one of these 3. You can increase the amount you draw, so you have more options to fine-tune exactly what research you want. And then research is broken into 3 categories. You have physics, society, and engineering. And one important thing to note, when drawing cards, you can get these yellow outlines, which essentially locks that in place. So this is just always drawn all the time. And it doesn't take away from your others. So you can have, even though you can only draw 3 cards, here's my 3 cards, and then here's a 4th one, even though these ones can only have 3. I'm starting with Planetary Unification because of my origin, Prosperous Unification. Origins are kind of the backstory of your empire, and you can change that. There's quite a few options, but the Prosperous Unification is just the most straightforward, doesn't really change the way the game's played. Some of the other ones are pretty crazy. Once I make this pick, you can see over here there's a cost. And once you reach the number of the cost, then that technology is given to you. You have it, and the effects are applied. Every month, which you can view from up here, you can see every month I get 22 monthly physics research, 22 monthly society research, and 25 monthly engineering research. Where am I getting these from? You can see that I'm getting 10 as a base. Every empire has just a small base income. And then I'm getting some from jobs. And then this one, the engineering, which I have a little bit more of. The reason I have more of that is because I have a station. On this moon right here, you can see the green number. The green number means I'm actually exploiting this research. There's like a research station over here for engineering. And then here on like Mercury, you can see this. We're not exploiting that. That's white. You can use a construction ship, right click on it. You can build mining station or research center for minerals. The jobs, if I click on my planet, you can see here's the planet UI interface. And right here, there's this building, research labs. This creates 2 researcher jobs. And if I go over to the population tab, here are my 2 researcher jobs. And then there's the upkeep of 1 food and 2.5 consumer goods. I'm getting my food from here, these farmers. The farmers are generated from the agriculture district. And then I'm also getting consumer goods from these artisans. I'm getting these artisans from this industrial district, which produces 1 artisan and 1 metallurgist. And the metallurgists are producing alloys. They're important because that's how you build spaceships. That's how you get more military, bigger military. You can build star bases, pretty much anything apart from mining stations like these mining stations to extract minerals. That's just regular minerals. But everything else, like space-worthy metal, think of alloys as space-worthy metals. So that's big mega structures, big space stations, ships, all that kind of stuff. But not these little unarmored mining stations. Technically, it does have armor, but just ignore that. Industrial districts produce these, say, consumer goods and alloys via minerals, which you get via the mining district. Consumer goods are used in the upkeep of kind of intellectual jobs, so both things that develop your culture and your science, which are both very important in the game to really progress and stay ahead of the curve and get powerful bonuses for your empire. Everyone needs some consumer goods, but they need them the most. So as you can see here on the researchers, they need 2.5, but everyone else needs like 0.2. So they need substantially more. And also the politicians, they need a lot of that, and your bureaucrats. So unity and research are really the big gobblers of consumer goods. And right now I'm not doing too good. I only have +2 monthly consumer goods. And if I wanted to say get more researchers here, I can't afford the mineral price of building the research labs building yet, but it's approximately 4 consumer goods per month. So that would put me into a deficit if I were to try to get more researchers. So I do need to get more consumer good productions, or another artisan job at least, before I pursue getting more research. But the other thing is that if I look at the building itself, the building itself requires an upkeep of 2 energy. And you can get energy credits multiple ways, but the most simple way is through generator districts. Planets are broken into 2 main categories. There's districts and there's buildings. 2 of these building slots right here, which you can see there's already stuff constructed in, are from this planetary administration. And then another 3 building slots, these ones right here, are from city districts. City districts are how you get more building slots. They also provide housing. You get a penalty to your planet's stability if you're out of housing. So city districts are very important. You can build these to increase your buildings. Buildings allow you to get certain special jobs and other modifiers to your planet that are really important. The thing that's different about these 3 districts compared to these first 2 districts are you can build as many as you want on a planet, assuming you don't go over the planet's capacity. Every planet has a size. So this planet is size 18. And that is the number of districts you can have. So you can see right here, if I hover over this, you can see I have 13 out of 15 total districts. Now you're like 18. That's not, 15 is not 18. That's because if I go to here, the features, or you can also see it right here, blockers. Basically on planets, you have stuff that's like some kind of like mountains or like other natural terrain or other things that are preventing you from using certain land. So right here we have the sprawling slums, we have the Great Pacific Garbage Pack, and we have the Industrial Wasteland. And you can spend usually energy. Some of these can be other things, but usually energy you can use to basically go in and clear the blockers, though some of these blockers require technology. Important thing with sprawling slums to look at is it creates 1 pop. And pops are what you need to work jobs. So the sprawling slums is a really good one to clear first. I always like to get that for the extra people to work jobs. Anyhow, the difference, these first 2 districts are unlimited. You can build as many as you want as long as it doesn't go over how many you have available. Right now I have 2 districts available, but I can have 5 if I clear these blockers here. These, however, are limited independently of the planet size. So even if I were to destroy some of these other districts, I could only have 8, and I'd have 10 other districts I would not be able to put into agriculture. And that's the difference between these. And the features, you can see here, this one gives you 1 agriculture district, 4 agriculture districts, 3 mining districts, 3 generator districts. So if you're wondering why a certain amount is low or high, you can go to the features and see that. And that's important because if you're trying to decide what to do with a planet, that slows you down and sometimes forces your planets to take a certain shape. So when you're scouting new planets, it's important to look at how many districts you have available for the planet, which you should be able to see once you've surveyed a planet. So that's kind of your basic resource, all of your basic resources, and kind of how to manage your planet. Before I pick, there's some other considerations that make research faster. You have leaders that you can elect to certain positions, and scientists are one type of leader. So if I click on this guy, he has a skill, 1 of 5. You can increase the max skill through various means, but that skill gives him a bonus to research speed. He's like basic level 1 skill. But as you can see, that's giving him 2% extra monthly research. So normally we produce just like 22, but we're actually producing 22.46 because of this guy here. Here in his traits, you can see these little icons are traits. Every technology has a field. So this guy's a physics researcher, but he's really good. You can see right here their traits as well. He's really good at field manipulation research. And right here I have 2 options. I have particles, and I have field manipulation. If I pick field manipulation, he'll have a 15% research boost. So this will actually be a faster technology because this guy is really good at this type of research. So what do these first 2 technologies do? And why am I picking global energy management? So if I go into my ship designer right here, you can see my Corvette. This is the smallest, most standard ship. I already have 3 of them, but you can see right here, small red laser does an average damage of 2.15. And if I go back to my research, the small blue laser does an average damage of 2.83. So a very small boost to damage. And then fusion reactor, what that does is that here you have power, and your ship, you can't build a ship that has negative power. So you have to at least have that. So you might have the technology to say put on blue lasers or a fancier shield, but it'll cost more power. So just because you researched blue lasers, like right now, I cannot afford any more power on this current ship design. So even if I research blue lasers, I could not put it on the ship because it'll cost more power. So it's kind of pointless for me to research blue lasers before researching fusion reactor. So I usually go for the reactor before I bother with the actual technology. Particularly blue lasers, you usually get this through an event anyways, so I hardly ever spend the time to research this because usually you get it for free if you wait a bit. But even more important to me is global energy management, because this allows me to get even more energy credits, and energy credits are kind of the money of the game, and almost everything in the game has an upkeep of energy credits. So it's very important to improve your energy credit production because it can really slow you down if you don't have enough of that. So it's nice to have a really strong surplus. I would say that in the early game, minerals, energy credits, and consumer goods are kind of your main battles usually. But alloys can also be a problem. You can usually want more alloys, but food, as long as you're meeting your needs and you have a surplus, it doesn't need to be a very big surplus. That's generally my philosophy. I find the most important thing is think about what actions you're taking will do long term, or what will do, like say if you finish building a new district and it costs 2 upkeep, then you're gonna have to account that you're losing energy, and you gotta eventually balance that out. Upkeeps can be kind of a silent killer if you don't keep an eye on it. You can start spamming buildings because you have all of the resources for it, and then go, why is my economy collapsing? Because you didn't think in advance. I often had that problem where I didn't really think in advance about what that new ship would actually cost me. Like these ships require almost 1 energy upkeep every month. So having a massive fleet, you could maybe spam out a massive fleet, but not realize how much it's going to cost you, and then you have an energy deficit and you have a massive crisis. So thinking about, like, can you actually support, not just actually buy them, but also maintain them? Right now I have a very healthy energy credit surplus. This boosts it even more. I can build a special building that makes my technicians, which are the jobs you get from generator districts, instead of each of these guys making 8, if I had that building on the planet, they'd make 9. That's very useful, and I get now 17% research progress. So it's also in this guy's category. So that's definitely the best pick for me at this moment. I really don't like hydroponics farming. Building slots, just, you can look at a planet and you can see you have 12 building slots on a planet, and I have 18 districts. So you can already tell that building slots are more valuable than districts. And they produce important things like research labs. You can't get researcher jobs from your districts in most cases. I feel like it's a waste to build food when you can get it so much better with the agriculture district, because districts are generally cheaper. I don't like hydroponics farms, and I almost never research this. And then biodiversity studies. This one, I think, is kind of a trick. It seems really good. Extra society research. You're like, I do some research, and then I make even more research. It seems like it's a really strong pick, and that it would have a really snowball consequences. But let's just do a little math. Editing Cedar here. I did my math very weird when I was recording live, so I'm just going to do this again so that it's more straightforward. So I'm making 20% extra society research from researcher jobs. So my researchers produce 6.2 society research, and I have 2 researchers. So 6.2 times 2 equals 12.4 society research right now, and this is just adding 20%. So what is the actual gain that I'm getting from this technology? Well, I'm getting 20%, so that's 0.2. So that equals 2.48 per month. So then this costs 2,000. So then this would 2,000 divided by 2.48 equals approximately 806 months. 806 divided by 12 equals approximately 67 years. If I don't increase the amount of researchers I have, this is how long it will take to break even or to finish paying for itself and actually give me a benefit. So it's not worth it immediately, but it is a good technology later on. Back to the video, which is a real sizable chunk of the game, considering that the game ends at in 300 years. So both of these two are duds, basically. I don't want them yet. Genome mapping is pretty good. Pop growth speed. Pops are the foundation of how you get resources, because you can have a planet, but if you have no pops on the planet, you're not going to get anything out of it. You want higher populations. Now, obviously, you have to be able to support them. If they don't have any jobs to work, they're going to be unhappy and rebel. But if you can continually build them jobs, you want to grow your pops and your jobs at basically the same rate. And you want to grow them both as fast as possible. So the way that you grow, if you're on your population screen, you can see right here that there's growth progress. I currently have 0 out of 108. Every month, I'm getting 3.62. Once I have 108 progress, a new pop will be complete. And then I can fill this enforcer job, and then it'll continue again. Though, the important thing to note, it starts at 108 instead of like 100, which would make more sense, because every pop you have increases the total amount you need to get the next one. So once I finish this pop, it'll probably be like 109. And then the next one would be like 110. It's something to consider that the more pops you have in your empire, the slower they grow. So if you're wondering why that number is so absurdly large, it's probably because you already have so many pops. Increasing that pop growth speed is just always a good compounding effect that this can snowball quite good, because more pop growth speed means more everything. All of these resources get increased by that pretty much. Or Planetary Unification, which grants me some unity. Unity is really important for getting traditions, which I do not have enough, so I can't like show you. I'll get to that when I have it, but these traditions make a huge impact on your empire and are really important. So getting more unity is great, and monthly unity is good. And then edicts. What are edicts? So right here you can go to edicts, and right now I only have 2 options, and I can't click on any of them because I don't actually have any unity. But the way that the edicts work is they're just kind of like a temporary boost to your empire that lasts as long as you want. You can kind of slot them in for a upkeep in that. But obviously, if I were to take both of these, I wouldn't have any unity. I'd be producing a deficit of unity if I were to take both of these, because that's 30, but I'm only making 26. So what you have is Edicts Fund. That's basically just free unity, but can only be used for edicts. So if I were to click this, the 15, it would cost me 15 Unity up front from this pool once I stockpiled it, so I have to wait a month before I could get enough to click this button. But once I did, I'd get that effect. I'd get Starbase upgrades speed and capacity or whatever. I can cover that when it becomes relevant. But I get it without changing that 26 number at all, because this would only be 15 out of 20. But if I were to click the second one, then this would be minus 10. So I'd only have a 16. So that's kind of how edicts work. If you go over this number, it starts charging from here. So it's important, ideally, not to go over your edicts fund. But if you really need something, you usually use Unity, but sometimes it's something else. And in this case, campaigns, which are a type of edict that costs energy instead. Energy instead of Unity. That tooltip is actually outdated. They used to cost influence, but they changed it around. It's Unity now. Basically, in my mind, it's a choice between genome mapping and planetary unification. The reason I'm going to pick genome mapping is that planetary unification is in my deck permanently, which means that ideally I'd like to only research this when all of these are duds, when I don't have anything better to research, because I know next turn, once I finish a research, I'm going to still have this as an option. Sometimes, like say genome mapping, something that I'm excited about, that I'd like to get. If I were to research this now, then when I finish this research, I'm going to get new options, and genome mapping in most cases won't be one of them, which means that I'm going to have to wait and do multiple technologies before it pops up again, most likely. So I can either get it now, or I might have to wait a really long time, and I'd like to get it now. Whereas this one I know I can get because of the yellow outline. So that's why I'm picking genome mapping. Otherwise, they have equal value to me, in my opinion. And then finally, for my engineering research, which is faster because of this spark of genius trait, which gives you some extra research speed, just to get anything. Whereas this is for particular categories, this is for anything. And I can even switch my leaders. So say I value this pop growth speed more than one of these technologies. I could click on the Society Research, then click on this engineering research person, and you'd see that now this guy's here and giving the boost here. And then I could reassign this guy here. So that's if you want to reshuffle around someone, or you have someone in a science ship over here and they have a trait that you'd like to actually use in the technology, then that's good. And their skill contributes too. So sometimes, generally, the idea is low skill people in your science ships, they go off and they take the risk of going into the void, but you want to hold on to your high level people. So ideally, you want to put high level people here where they're completely safe and they can only die by age, because your science ship can be shot down and then the leader killed. I'm actually going to leave this genius in so that I can get the pop growth speed as soon as possible, because that's really important to me. Then there's powered exoskeletons, which gives me more army damage and more minerals for my jobs. So minerals from jobs would not affect like the minerals I'm getting from this asteroid. It only affects actual pops. So only these mining jobs, but if there's something else producing minerals, not just miners, that would also get me more minerals. So that's that one. And then army damage is good. But you can see right here, robotic path. You can see this little icon. If I get this research, I can research robots and build robots. So if I want to build robots, I have to get this first. So it can be important to grab these ones. Even if I don't want this thing, I want to get the future stuff early, potentially. So that's a good one, potentially. It gives me a small boost, but the big thing is leading on to robots if I want to go the robot route. Then you have nanomechanics, which is the exact same thing that I described with biodiversity studies. And then there's geothermal fracking, which gives me 20% minerals from miners, but also 10% minerals from starbase constructions. So this would actually get more minerals. So this one's a pretty good pick. So my mind is between powered exoskeletons and geothermal fracking. Right now I'm only making a surplus of 27 minerals, so I'm not doing very well on minerals. I'm going to be tight on minerals, and I'm going to have to be very strategic about where I spend my minerals. The initial robots, until you get much later into the game and get different technology, are restricted to the worker jobs right here. And I value the jobs are kind of split into different tiers, and you have rulers, you have specialists, and you have workers. And they're only capable of doing worker jobs, but usually I prefer specialist jobs, because specialist jobs they're kind of your middle class, and they produce all of the important stuff. That's my leaning away from robots. So I'm going to go for geothermal fracking because that's a big boost to my minerals and I need minerals. So that's my research picked. All right, I'm going to call the episode there. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. And if I finish the next episode, you should see it on screen about now. All right, bye.